Hello, everyone. Rhys Tefertiller, Jeff Tefertiller. We're joined by Shane Hallam. Shane, we want to start by thanking you for helping publicize Rhys's book recently. How are you doing this summer?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm having a good summer. Watching a lot of film on college guys, NFL guys, and yeah, it was a pleasure to promote Reese's book. It was awesome. That was better than I could do right now, let alone at his age. So I was amazed. I'll be getting it every year.
Thank you. And I will say that the funny backstory to it, correct me if I'm wrong, young lad, is that he started it when we were off on COVID time, and he was an eighth grader, finished his work early, not much work to do. What can I do but start preparing for fancy drafts in March? And then that became a book, right?
Right.
And so, anyway, the other thing that he has to be thankful for is all the resources, like Warren Sharp, Mike Clay, all those guys that talk this, like yourself, 24/7, 365, that even in March, there's good discussion for him to start building off of. So let's get started. I was intrigued. So I'm a dynasty guy as well. And I saw in the FFPC startup, you traded back. How many first rounders did you get?
Yeah, so this is the pros versus Joes. They
Yeah.
started a dynasty league this year, so it's a best ball tight end premium league. I ended up with 8 2021 first round picks and an extra second round pick, so 2 seconds. I ended up with my goal was 9, so I was one short of the amount that I wanted to get, but I traded away my first, second, third, fourth, and fifth round selection in the startup and moved back from all of those to pick up those firsts.
Wow. Wow. So what's your team look like?
Uh, it's interesting, and I definitely pushed it, kind of to the future. I'm working on a big, it's a kind of a 10-page article for Fake Pigskin once this draft is completely over. Kind of what with some of the strategy elements that we can talk about. But I went super young. I mean, I went wide receiver heavy. Because I feel like that's a position where you can kind of get that value. So my first pick in the 6th was Deebo Samuel, who I think, had he not gotten hurt, wouldn't have fallen that far. And so to me, I'm not winning this year. I'm getting last. That's
If
my
you're
goal.
punting, why not, right? Let's
Right.
get all the injured guys that we can load up.
Yeah, I mean, so it's great. And those kind of players, I got him, I got Deontay Johnson, Denzel Mims, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, so it's like a bunch of rookies in there. And then, tight end, because it's tight end premium, so it's 1.5 PPR. So I got Mike Gesicki, Irv Smith, Adam Troutman, Cole Kmet. So, 4 young guys with some upside. Quarterback, it's not super flex, but it's best ball. So I did a little worse than I wanted to. I got Justin Herbert, Teddy Bridgewater, and Jordan Love so far. I might grab Jalen Hurts as well as kind of my goal coming up. And running back's terrible because it's just so thin, So A.J. Dillon, Darrell Henderson, Anthony McFarland, Benjamin, DJ Dallas so far. So, it's pretty bad. But I think with this strategy, I'm kind of dubbing it the instant rebuild strategy. And to me, I can take those picks. I can use those 2021 picks, or I can move them for value. I was talking with Sigmund Bloom of Football Guys, a little bit about why make a first round pick in a startup. There's no way for that to accrue value. A team took Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 106. And even with the Damian Williams news of opting out, he's probably never going to go higher than that ever in a startup. Probably not, So why do that? Why not trade back, and then I can move these futures later for a little more established players if I want to next year.
So let me recap. You see it as a value arbitrage more than, hey, I really like Travis Etienne, one of the receivers. You may really like him, but because he and I were talking today, and I like the value arbitrage view of this only because if you let's say you acquired 10 first rounders, 5 are potential fantasy starters and 2 are studs at best in any given year, right? And so, I enjoy because even those 8, you could always trade back. You know what I'm saying? You can always turn those into a next year's pick or a next year's pick, and there's always that value. The other thought I had in Dynasty, because I've been playing it way too long, is longer than he's been living, but how there's a cycle of value for picks and for veterans. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
right now is the time to buy veterans, and picks like first, second week of the season, time to sell veterans. And then as it rolls around, right before the draft, it's time to sell picks and buy veterans. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Right. I mean, and you can kind of play that game well. One thing I sometimes have trouble with is when you talk about kind of when to sell those picks, probably the smartest time is during the draft, your rookie draft. And if, we talk, like, we're both kind of college guys, and sometimes I try to forecast, sometimes there is some value before that rookie draft. If I'm like, I think it's going to be a lot thinner than these guys, than the rest of my team league mates do, I'm going to move a pick or two now and, try to play that. Like that value game, I think, can be a really good way to play Dynasty. I think it takes a lot of action. I mean, I prefer Dynasty leagues that are hyper trading. I'm in one at the FFPC that, we've had 30 trades in a week. It's by 500 number one. It's by far the most active league I've been in, and that's a lot of fun for me. Because I've won. I took over a crappy orphan. I won it once. A year later, I went for it again and failed hard. And then I scrapped the whole team and I drafted a bunch of rookies this year. So, I think to your point too of you're never going to have 10 great picks. So sometimes this volume can work. I mean, you say, okay, look, 50% of these picks are going to work out. 50% aren't. I know that. And so I think in that 500 number one, I ended up making like 7 firsts and 5 seconds and really rebuilding my running backs and receivers. And I know half of them are going to suck. And I don't know which ones, but half of them are probably going to be good. And I think it'll work out.
Oh, yeah. And for me, I always try to go wide receiver first when I'm building teams, and I go running back and quarterback last.
Yeah.
Only because so I'm in 9 of Ryan McDowell's hyperactive and kitchen sink leagues. I made the finals in 4. And so that's 24 teamers, right? And my MO on all of the ones that are good is wait and hope you catch a running back. And so 2 years ago it was Lindsey. Last year it was Eckler. You catch and the one I won in, what was really funny is I had Newton and Roethlisberger go down. I traded a future third for Tannehill and rode that into the finals. You can always find a quarterback that you can give a future second, future third for a Roethlisberger, even at the end of his career, right? You know what I mean? And so there's no reason you play in a lot of dynasty leagues. I do too. But those guys that draft a Kyler Murray, even Trevor Lawrence in the first round of a rookie draft, he's never going to be worth that. I don't want to say never, but how many quarterbacks would you give a future first for?
None. I don't think there's one that I would give a future first for. And I think you can make an argument for Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. I think most people probably wouldn't give one up for Mahomes,
right?
Because he's going to get that longevity. But if it's not super, I think that's why Superflex is getting more popular, because people see that. Like, I can just kind of punt quarterback, and there's enough now because it's such a passing league. But yeah, I probably wouldn't do that in a standard league. This instant rebuild league is kind of interesting because it's best ball. So it's still one QB, but you can gain a statistical advantage of quarterback. So the quarterback's a little bit more valuable, but at the same time, I kind of plan on taking a Joe Burrow or a Tua, but kind of to your point, I kind of waited because I didn't really love the value, and those guys went earlier than I expected to want them. And so I'll kind of take crap for now and deal with it later. I can give up one of those future seconds, and I can get almost whoever I want probably.
Exactly. That's where I was. And I would even say last round pick Jameis Winston, right? Or somebody like that. Even Andy Dalton, because if Dak goes down, Dalton's worth something. You know what I mean? And especially in those best balls. I even think Ryan Fitzpatrick, for a team that wants to win, has value, because Fitzpatrick throws up some monster games, and those 4 pick games you're okay with because it's best ball. So let's go Fishbowl. Scott Fishbowl. How many you've played it every year? And,
yeah, I've been in every year since the first one, so we've done them all.
In the last 5 or 6 or something like that. What was your strategy going in?
Scott Fish was always fun. Yeah, I think Scott does a good job of switching it up every year. The scoring changes, and it's like how these positions are kind of equal. What do you do? I think the last 3 or 4 years I've kind of figured out what my strategy is, and that's to punt receiver. I really try to get quarterbacks. I picked the 103 because I wanted Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson this year. So I got the 103. Scott was nice enough to give me the pick I wanted and kind of guarantee one of those guys, or if they wanted to hand me Christian McCaffrey, I would have taken it, but no one's going to do that. I stuck up on running backs early and made sure I got kind of 2 younger upside quarterbacks later that could kind of swing for the fences and then grab, kind of a dearth of tight ends. And then receiver, I just threw a bunch of crap at the wall and hope that I get enough that I can start, a couple every week. And the waiver wire, I feel like the waiver wire, it's a lot easier. These leagues are pretty deep. There's not much there. So it's a lot easier to find a receiver than I feel like a starting quarterback. I mean, I think one year I gave up my whole fab budget before the season for Jay Cutler on the Dolphins. It was like, that sucks. That's not good. Don't do that. I'd rather wait, and try to find a receiver that has a big game or a couple games where someone goes down. And that was kind of my plan.
Like a Russell Gage. What quarterbacks did you roster?
So I ended up getting Mahomes at the 103, which was the ideal scenario for me. And then I took Joe Burrow, and which I didn't go very rookie heavy. I'm really trying not to this year, but I took Joe Burrow at the 610 and then Drew Lock at the 703. And I like Drew Lock this year with those weapons. I think if you can grab whoever that next quarterback is, right? Mahomes 2 years ago, second-year QB broke out. Lamar Jackson last year. If you find that guy, that's it. I think Drew Lock or Daniel Jones, one of those second-year guys will do that. I think Lock, even though I didn't like him as much coming into the league, I feel more confident with the consistent coaching staff, with the weapons they've added, and that the offense will, even though they'll probably run a lot, I think he'll have the opportunity for some big games. So as that super flex position, I'll see how Burrow does, but I think Lock's going to be hopefully the guy that can win the league for me.
My Bronco fan that's sitting next to me is happy about that.
He's excited about that.
You see him excited.
You said you punted wide receiver, but I do think Juju Smith-Schuster is not a bad wide receiver one for you.
No, thanks. Yeah, that was so. That was me when I was kind of doing some mock drafts and things. Seeing where that value lined up, and I really felt like because when I'm picking at that 4 turn, and there was good value for receiver. There wasn't multiple running backs that I liked there, and by that point I had already taken 2 running backs, so I don't think I need a 4. So Juju is hopefully the ground that can hold my team together. It was kind of a tough choice of, do you go with him? Allen Robinson was there, AJ Brown. You kind of swing for the fences with him, but I feel like Juju should have a rock solid floor as long as Ben Roethlisberger stays healthy. I think last year was an outlier, and if Roethlisberger never goes down, right, where is he going in this draft? It's far before the 410. So I think if Roethlisberger stays healthy, then that will be good. But yeah, after that, it's kind of a mess at my receivers, but I'll take it.
Juju is on my buy list at whatever price in Dynasty, only because he's so young. He's got so much upside, and they don't really have very much else to throw him the ball to. Mine, I ended up with Dak, and I probably reached for him too soon. I got him so I always tell Scott, give me what you want. Give me whichever pick, whatever. And so I got the 8 hole and went Cook and Dak. And then
that's not too early at all.
That's not too bad, is it? And
no, I saw Dak going 105, 106. So
yeah, and then I ended up with Godwin and Evans in the 3-4. And ended up hammering. So then I punted wide receiver for like a long time. and end up quarterback with Dak, Ben,
Teddy, and
Rivers, and Jameis, maybe Teddy, but was hammering running back like it was going out of style.
Yes.
Because at tight end, all I ended up with was Jarwin and Delaney Walker. Nothing like pushing all the chips in on Jarwin. I like Jarwin, but that's a little scary. And so I ended up, it's so bad that my wide receiver 3 is tied between Antonio Brown and Sterling Shepard. I've let it go a long time.
Yeah,
and so
I'm kind of with you there.
Alshon. So let's talk Steelers. I know you're a Steelers guy. I like the Steelers. I'm a closet Steelers fan. I grew up in loving the Dallas Cowboys, but I dislike Jerry Jones. I dislike, having a young man who likes football, the Greg Hardy, beats the snot out of his girlfriend. Let's give him millions of bucks. Josh Brent. I was like, all right. So now I'm without a team. So every show I'm wearing like a different jersey, different shirt, just because I don't care. So you're a Steelers guy. I'm a closet Steelers fan just because I kind of like Tomlin, and I like the longevity of their coaches and how everything, I just kind of like how their team makeup is, right? It's an organization. So, Ben, what do you think, Rhys?
I like Ben a lot this year, especially at his price. It's like quarterback 15 or something. It's like they expect him to break down by week 8. But
in redrafts.
Right.
In Dynasty, he's even cheaper, isn't he, Shane?
Yeah, you can get him for anything. I think unless the team is kind of pushing in to win it all, and even then, if he's going QB 15 in redraft, you probably have a better quarterback that's going higher than him in redraft on your roster. So you can get him for cheap if you're. I think there's a lot of guys like that in redraft and dynasty that you can find. I think Ben Roethlisberger is. I think he's going to stay relatively healthy. I think last year was an anomaly to miss a whole season, pretty much. He's tough. He has those nicks and bruises, and he'll miss a game. They're probably going to happen again because he's an older guy. But I think the Steelers' goal is to win the Super Bowl. I think they've built a team to win the Super Bowl. I think we saw the plan worked out last year, except for the quarterback. They built that defense, and it's one of the best defenses in the NFL. And if they would have had Ben Roethlisberger quarterback, how many more wins is he worth than Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, right? Like you go from 8 wins to 10 to 11, then you're in the running. So I think this kind of year, I think they're kind of pushing the chips in the middle to win a Super Bowl, with James Conner's contract coming up and Juju Smith-Schuster's contract's coming up. And they're going to have to, the rebuild is on the horizon, but this is the time. So if the team is kind of pushing for that, then chances are the output is going to be very good.
And let's state the obvious. All right. I just want to say it's the obvious. Their contract situation for next year was bad before the salary cap dropped, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And what we're talking about is hard to keep all these guys. That was before the salary cap dropped for next year. And so I'm with you there. Ben, I do like, though. I do think he can be a top 5, 6, 7 quarterback for fantasy. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think especially on a points per game basis.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people forget, right? If you take him in redraft and he gets hurt, you can replace him with someone else, right? And so even if he plays 10 games and his points per game is 5th overall, sometimes we look at that overall number at the end of the season, and that's not accurate. I'll take QB5 for 10 games, and he can miss 4. I have someone to replace him that's going to do okay. So I think that's accurate.
Even a Tannehill or Fitzpatrick down the stretch won titles. I told my story about Tannehill, but Fitzpatrick won people titles down the stretch, right? And so quarterbacks are a commodity to me unless you're at the top. If you're not getting the top 2, doesn't really matter. And so I feel the same way about tight end. Ebron's staying on the Steelers here, right?
Right.
Ebron's not a guy I'm chasing. Are you?
I'm not, unless he falls to me. Like, I took him at the Scott Fish Bowl as my tight end 3, so I'm not risking much there. I think in Dynasty, I don't see him as a long-term option for the Steelers. I think this year we have a really good tight end rookie class coming in. So it wouldn't surprise me. Everyone's going to be like, oh, they got to take quarterback just like they did this year. And then they just take a tight end instead. Or I even think Chase Claypool. I think there's a strong possibility Chase Claypool will play receiver. But if Ebron, gets hurt or goes out and they're very thin, he could step into that tight end role basically for the Steelers as kind of an extra slot kind of player. So I think that's a possibility too. So I think Ebron will catch some touchdowns. I think he'll have a couple big games. It might be one of those guys in Dynasty, if you have him, that you're able to sell and get a little late round rookie capital.
But this is just me. I'm not a Claypool fan. When I watched him at Notre Dame, you could blame it on Ian Book. Everybody else does. But I didn't see somebody that was a second round NFL receiver. When I look back at NFL second round receivers, I see a lot of hits, same with first round, and I see a lot of misses, right? For every John Ross, we can go down the line, but there's a lot, Steelers have, going all the way back, I was trying to think of the last second round pick that they missed on. Linus Sweet, maybe?
Washington.
A receiver. Was Washington a second rounder? Yeah. But anyway. All right. What questions do you have for Shane?
In your opinion, is James Conner a 3-down back, or is he a 2-down back with Jalen Samuels going on the field for the final?
Samuels or McFarland or who? Right.
So someone else, right? No, I think he's a 3-down running back. I think they want a 3-down running back there. I think that's the goal. And I think if he's 100%, that's what you'll see. I think Jalen Samuels will get a little bit of play. And if Anthony McFarland proves it, he's a very different running back than they've drafted. Even Jalen Samuels is a big dude, right? Played some H-back tight end at NC State. But I think Anthony McFarland is – if this weapon, this toy works out, then we have an explosive threat. So I think they want Conner to be the 3-down guy. I think if Conner is hurt, is nicked up, and is still playing, then it's easy to take him off the field on third down, put in Jalen Samuels, and have that. The Steelers actually like to do a lot of kind of drive game scripts. So, what you'll see is the third, fourth drive, Jalen Samuels plays most of that drive. Maybe him and Benny Snell will do it to give Conner a drive off. And so instead of first down, second down, third down, that's what they'll do. I think if Conner goes down, if he's out, then I think we see Benny Snell actually take his spot. I think that's a dynasty steal, a fantasy steal right now, because James Conner's probably going to get hurt. And Benny Snell, though I don't think he's very good, that doesn't matter. You have a good offensive line, and he's probably going to run the ball. And then Jalen Samuels, I think, has shown some things, but I think that they're just very hesitant to hand him the keys. So it's going to be interesting because they could rotate a little bit more this season, try to keep Conner a little bit more fresh. But I almost think that they will run the tires off of him and let him go. And I think it's hard in Pittsburgh, and being a pit guy, cancer survivor. The city loves him, but the cap situation, as you said, it's not good, and signing a running back's not a smart way to use it.
Yeah, go ahead.
People forget Benny Snell led the Steelers in red zone carries last year, not James Conner. And another Conner stat was that in his games where he gets more than 18 touches, he on average scores more than 28 points per game.
On PPR?
PPR. So if they can feed him the ball a little bit, like he's saying, as a 3-down back, Conner can end up being a steal in his dynasty ADP.
But that means if he gets 18 touches, he's scoring a touchdown. He's not getting 28 off of 12 receptions. Right. What do you think, Shane?
No, I think a great redraft plan this year is take James Conner even a little bit before ADP, take him as your RB2, and then take Benny Snell late. And I think you have that guy. Like you said, if Conner goes down, Benny Snell's getting red zone carries. He's gonna get touchdowns. So I think you have at James Conner, who's going to be a rock solid 2 with big RB1 upside, and you have Benny Snell if he goes down as a handcuff to put in. Even if you don't have James Conner, take Benny Snell anyway. He's almost free. He's going at the end of drafts.
Yeah, and he mentioned he's not James White, right? He's not going to be
no
4 carries and 15 targets or whatever that craziness was. All right, we talked a little bit about receiver Juju. James Washington, Deontay Johnson, Claypool, I like Deontay Johnson. I have him in the league. I'm not sold all the way. I'm not sold all the way on James Washington either. Are you convinced that Deontay Johnson's going to be good enough to be the number 2 guy this year and possibly the alpha next year?
Yeah, I think Deontay Johnson is a stud, and I think he's going to be a stud. Like I bought him for a future first. I think he's one of those players. If you have a good team and think your first will be in that back half to buy in dynasty, just because if he can do what he did last year as a rookie with Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges playing the slot position, I think you put Ben Roethlisberger in there, or in the future, whoever that young quarterback is going to be better than Mason Rudolph. Then Deontay Johnson can really eat the PPR receptions. I think that's going to be his game. And do I think he's ever going to be the stud outside Juju, Amari Cooper type? No, he's never going to be that, right? But in fantasy, we don't need that. We volume is great, and I think that's what he'll end up doing. So I think he plays a slot, but essentially is that number 2 option in the passing game, and that's going to be a big thing. So I've drafted him. I drafted him on that FFPC team as my wide receiver 2 after Debo. I'll take that shot. And so I think the other position, the kind of wide position, is going to be interesting because I actually still like James Washington. I don't know if he'll ever be like super fantasy relevant, but he can stretch the field, and I think that's what they just want him to do. Like, get down there, throw the ball up. I think if he didn't do a lot with Mason Rudolph and having that college connection, he's probably not going to do a lot moving forward, but it's worth a shot. And, I'm kind of with you on Claypool and watching him at Notre Dame. I definitely did not have him rated as a second rounder, but I think in the Steelers, we kind of trust with receivers, they'll have a bust, and even the busts, Lima Sweet was bad, but like Martavis Bryant, that wasn't on-field production. It's, and to get Antonio Brown and Juju where they did. So
Mike Wallace,
yeah,
Emmanuel Sanders. We can go down the list,
going.
right? And they were killing it. And so we have to still believe in their brain trust.
And I think that Kevin Colbert knows that's a strength, and he'll draft to that strength. I think he knows that safety is not a strength. I think that's why they traded a first for Minkah Fitzpatrick. They knew we don't scout DBs very well. So that's not something we're going to invest high draft capital in. Rather get a guy you know is a stud already. And I think it's just having a smart GM and head coach is going to do that.
All right. I would say when I look around at the trades, I'm going way off script here. And Rhys, you hold me accountable in this, all right?
Okay.
It's easy to see the really good GMs when we see which players are traded for a first rounder or maybe multiple versus which ones aren't. Who gives that up? And here's where I was going. Fitzpatrick for a 20-something first, steal because they have him under contract for 2 more years, right?
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey, the Rams give away Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib and then trade 2 firsts. I mean, they gave them away and then trade 2 firsts for Jalen Ramsey, or Tunsil getting 2 firsts, right? I mean, you could see the Steelers, they would be willing to give up their first every year if they got a starter, the quality of Minkah Fitzpatrick at any of, 10 or 12 positions, right?
And I'll say, too, this was confidence in themselves, right? Because when they traded that pick, it looked like a top 5 pick. It looked like it's going to be bad. And I think there's confidence in Mike Tomlin and the consistency in the defense to make that not a top 5 pick. And then it wouldn't have been a good trade. And it's why, you look at the Jamal Adams trade, it's why he cost so much more because, Seattle's going to be good. And so I think it was the Steelers even playing to their strength to say, we lost the first couple games. It's not going to keep happening. Let's move it now, get a stud starter, and it'll end up being cheaper than if we try to trade for him, in the offseason.
But I look at Khalil Mack, 2 first-rounders, probably worth it. Jamal Adams, I don't think so for a safety, especially when I see Seattle. Look what they did with Gum and Tape, MacGyvering that secondary with Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Chancellor. Those guys, they didn't have a lot of draft capital in those guys, right? And am I wrong?
No.
And I was looking at his face. He had that. Can I say Dad's wrong on the video? You can. He tells me it all the time. He enjoys it even. And so, but I'm just saying that giving it up for a safety is like giving it up for an average left tackle like Tunsil, right? I say average. I don't know. And but Khalil Mack was worth it, and I still think that they came out better. I think Raiders and the Bears came out better on that deal. And
Josh Jacobs turned out pretty good.
Yeah, but if you're not bought into Khalil Mack, you don't give them the big money, right?
Right.
And so anyway, it's just interesting the teams that are willing to bet on themselves. The Bears bet on themselves. The Texans did, and they shouldn't have. Anyway, it's just interesting to me because then now we look at Brandon Cooks, and he was traded for a first rounder twice, right? Or once, and then he was drafted in the first round and traded for a first rounder or something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean he's been moved around the league, so much it's crazy, and I think sometimes it's tough too. The Jamal Adams deal I think isn't intriguing because Seattle really bad at drafting first round picks. Let's be real. So like I will just give it up. Now, would I have given that much? Probably not. I think you could have played it a little smarter, like you said, for sure. Maybe safety is not the position to attack there. But I think they once again know their strengths and weaknesses. Whereas I think putting Bill O'Brien in charge of the Texans, I know it's been killed to death, and just not knowing where your strengths lie. Like if the Jets can take Jamal Adams, who clearly publicly didn't want to be there, and get to firsts, like you couldn't have gotten more for DeAndre Hopkins. You couldn't have waited that out a little bit longer, stuff. I think like you're right. I think it's clear to see. And that's why there isn't as much parity as we make it seem in the NFL. There really isn't. There's the haves and the have-nots. And if you find the right guys and you stick with it and kind of ignore public opinion, I mean, every year, Steelers fans here are trying to fire Mike Tomlin. And I'm like, man, they're never going to fire Mike Tomlin. And there's a lot lower that you can go. And so just be happy that you've never had a losing season here in Pittsburgh. I mean, come on, that's worth something, even if you're not getting a Super Bowl every other year.
Yeah, the part that if you really want to get Texans a little bit upset, just a little bit upset, ask them, now, how much did Minnesota get for Diggs? Now, what'd you get for Hopkins? I mean, the logic. Yeah. The other part to me that makes Adams a little more difficult is he's going to want Joey Bosa money. He's going to want, not only are you having to give up the picks, but now you're giving up for a player who doesn't get sacks or interceptions very much, and I don't know. All right. As we close, Shane, you've been a great guest. We thank you. Rhys has a couple of trivia questions, Steelers Super Bowl questions.
Oh, all right. We'll see how I do.
Let's go this. How many years have the Steelers lost the Super Bowl, Shane? I'll give you an easy one.
So they lost to the Packers. That one hurt. So that was the one that hurt me a little bit.
What year was that, Rhys?
No, it's the 2010-2011 season when the Packers were the sixth seed.
It's actually funny. I was in Vegas for the first time the July before that season, and I bet $50 on the Packers to win the Super Bowl that year. So it actually, when they met, it was like, I was rooting for the Steelers, but if I lost, I got $500. So I was, it's a nice consolation prize.
All right. So the Steelers also lost a Super Bowl, another one. Which year?
They lost Super Bowl 30 to the Cowboys, 27-17 with Neil O'Donnell.
All right. Those are your warm-up. Those are your softball batting practice pitches. Do you want to throw him a Harden, act like he's an Astros player and throw him one high and tight just to back him off of you from having a hard one on you?
No. Oh my goodness. No. I mean, once you drop that 1986 Super Bowl, and like my question's far too easy, but I'll let you knock it out of the park, I guess. So my question was, out of the 54 Super Bowls, 9 MVPs have been on defense. How many can you name?
How many can I name? Chuck Howley, Jake Scott. And then there's the tie of Harvey Martin and Randy White.
Yeah.
And then Richard Dent won it for the Bears in 85. The Seattle linebacker in Super Bowl 43. I forgot his name.
Yeah, it's all right.
Von Miller. Should have gotten that one earlier.
That's all right. You're killing it here.
Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis, yeah.
Is there one more?
Yes.
Two more.
Because the tie, those two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's
Larry Brown.
Yeah. Super Bowl 30.
And
yeah, the last one's another no-name guy that didn't do much else. So
that's helpful.
Still, that's
You can't think of it?
You know it?
No.
that's all right. No, man.
Who is it?
It's Dexter Jackson for the Buccaneers.
Oh, that's right.
2 first-half interceptions, but man, that's much better than I would. I would have gotten close. That's killer. Malcolm Smith was the Seahawks linebacker, so
That's right.
it's kind of interesting. Like him, Dexter Jackson. I'd even say Larry Brown to an extent of these guys that didn't do anything else but won a Super Bowl MVP. That's crazy. So, man, you're gonna kill me on these.
Well, especially the Larry Brown one, right? The Larry Brown gets the picks and then
$12 million
from Arizona and never to be heard from again.
Nothing. Neil Donald just handed it.
Oh, yeah.
Handed it to him.
All right. You ready?
Okay. Who holds the Steelers single game Super Bowl record for receptions?
Ooh, okay. So single game for receptions. So let's see. So I kind of lends me to think one of the more recent ones. But I don't know if anyone ever had like a ton of receptions because, we didn't throw the ball that much except for that Arizona Super Bowl. So between like Santonio Holmes or, one of the older guys, probably a Lynn Swan, but I don't think he would have as much as Santonio did. So I'll go with Santonio Holmes.
That was my guess as well. And he gave me the big
Oh, no!
Andre Hastings from Super Bowl 30. I didn't get that.
Oh,
geez.
I don't know.
But anyway, that is a hard one, though. And
we just talked about the losses. I wasn't even thinking of the losses.
All right.
Okay.
You have one more?
I have 2 more.
Oh, my.
Okay. 2 more. All right.
Who was the Cowboy? Okay, so Super Bowl 13, Franco Harris's touchdown run, right? 22 yards on 3rd down. Who was the defensive back who ran into the umpire, and what was the umpire's name?
Oh.
Let's
not do umpire's name. Let's just say.
The umpire's name, I got nothing. Defensive back for the Cowboys. So,
Renfro had retired at this point.
Yeah. I can think of one. I can think of one guy. So I'll go Cliff Harris.
It was his safety mate, Charlie Waters.
Wow. Look. See,
Cliff Harris was
close.
the guy that Lambert tossed to the ground in Super Bowl 10.
Yeah.
He acts like he was awake or even alive the first year. He's that's what happened.
I've seen it on NFL
films.
Yeah,
good guy got it.
We watched a lot of football.
I'm just glad I knew a defensive back for the Cowboys in that Super Bowl. So
we watch a lot of football. If
that's awesome.
Knew how much because the Game Pass, people watch it. Girls are shopping. We're like, okay, we'll just wait right here. And 45 minutes, 30 minutes, you can watch a game on Game Pass. Not too bad. And
that's
so
awesome.
that's our way, our mechanism for coping. All right, what you got? Last one.
Last one.
What Steelers Super Bowl ended with a pick in the end
Which Steelers Super Bowl ended with a pick in the end zone? That's a good question. Man, I'm trying to think. I don't think it was when it,
6 Super Bowl wins.
6 Super Bowl wins, right? This is one of the wins.
So they got
Interception in the end
almost a
zone.
70% chance.
Yeah, look, if I can guess it, right, then I don't think it was one of the early ones. I'm trying to recall. Yeah, I mean, I will guess. No, I don't think it was that one either. But I'll just guess the Super Bowl against the Seahawks.
It was Super Bowl 10, the first one against the Cowboys.
Man,
Glenn Edwards intercepted Staubach.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, I did not remember that.
Yeah, the part that gets me
man,
is that he knows all the details because he reads it, and then the way I know he reads it versus listens to it is he'll say, "Did you know that Ripon did something?" I was like, "Rip it." You know, or
That was 9.
yeah, or
yeah.
Just from that, but I appreciate
That's awesome.
your good humor on him trying to throw you a high.
No, I love it, man. I mean, that's awesome, and it's fun being a student of the game like that. So
we enjoy it.
That's great. That's great.
Enjoy it. So we thank you for coming on, and would hope to have you on maybe right around the first part of the season, especially because then we'll have a lot to talk about. I'm almost afraid that no preseason. This is just my fear, is that we're going to see a higher incidence of COVID, yes, you know, where guys miss a game or two, but also injuries. You know,
Yeah.
These guys haven't conditioned with rookie camp or OTA. They're just now reporting, and now they're supposed to play a game in 5 weeks. You know, I just don't know if I really buy that. So I think that we're gonna have a lot to talk about, but we want you back on. You have any closing comments there, young lad?
I did like your Scott Fishbowl team a lot.
Probably liked it better than he did his old man's.
I like this team a lot.
But, yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm sure that's anytime I like my team, it's usually a death knell. So hopefully you give me the luck and I can finally win one.
I was going for the stack, so I took Evans and Godwin, or Godwin then Evans, and I was hoping where I got Roethlisberger, I was hoping for Brady because I think stacking is one way to. And then Nick Whalen gets a few picks before me. I'm like, Nick. Anyway, I wasn't that sad having Roethlisberger and Rivers. You know, I think you have to have 3 decent quarterbacks. So anyway, well, thank you, Shane, and we appreciate it. Next time, all right, so you have a month or 2 or 3 to bring high heat for
I'm bringing it this time. I didn't get one of those. So
you can bring it on the Broncos even, right?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll do it.
Past couple seasons, I've got used to the heat on the Broncos.
Because we mentioned 2015. He was like, oh, that's the last time they made playoffs. I was like, maybe. But I do like what the Broncos did this year with Gordon and Judy. And I even
Hamler.
I even like Big Albert O. Reunited with Block. You know, it's united and it feels so good. Anyway, all right. It's great having you, Shane. We thank you for laughing and mucking it up with us, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.